drug addiction. Two words that carry immense weight, often shrouded in fear, misunderstanding, and judgment. It's a complex issue that affects millions worldwide, tearing apart families and communities. Yet, beneath the surface of this often misunderstood condition lies a tapestry of interconnected factors that contribute to its development. To effectively address this global crisis, we must first strive to understand its roots. What drives individuals down this destructive path? Why do some people become addicted while others don't? This essay delves into the intricate web of drug addiction, exploring the psychological, social, and genetic factors that play a role. By shedding light on these underlying causes, we can begin to dismantle the stigma surrounding addiction and foster a more compassionate and informed approach to treatment and prevention. Understanding is the first step towards empathy, and empathy is crucial in paving the way for effective solutions. Let's embark on this journey of understanding together. The human brain is a complex organ, constantly seeking pleasure and reward. Drugs hijack this natural reward system, flooding the brain with dopamine and creating a temporary but intense feeling of euphoria. Over time, however, the brain adapts to this artificial surge of dopamine. It becomes less sensitive to the drug's effects, leading to tolerance. This means the individual needs to consume higher doses to achieve the same high they once experienced. Furthermore, prolonged drug use can disrupt the brain's delicate chemical balance, leading to withdrawal symptoms when the drug is absent. These symptoms can be physical, such as nausea and tremors, or psychological, such as anxiety and depression. This vicious cycle of tolerance, withdrawal, and cravings can trap individuals in a relentless grip, making it incredibly challenging to break free from addiction. While individual psychology plays a significant role in addiction, we cannot underestimate the profound impact of social factors. Our environment, upbringing, and social connections all contribute to our vulnerability to drug use and addiction. Poverty, childhood trauma, and exposure to violence are just a few examples of social determinants that can increase the risk of addiction. These adverse experiences can leave individuals feeling isolated, hopeless, and desperate for an escape. Moreover, peer pressure and social norms surrounding drug use can significantly influence an individual's choices. If drug use is prevalent within a social circle, it can become normalized and even encouraged, making it harder for individuals to resist. Genetics also play a role in addiction, although it's not as straightforward as inheriting a gene for addiction. Instead, research suggests that certain genetic variations can influence an individual's susceptibility to addiction. For instance, some people may have genes that affect how their bodies metabolize drugs, making them more sensitive to the effects or increasing their risk of developing tolerance. Others may inherit genes that predispose them to certain mental health conditions, such as anxiety or depression, which can increase their vulnerability to drug use as a coping mechanism. It's important to note that genetics is not destiny. While genes may increase or decrease an individual's risk, they do not guarantee that someone will become addicted. Environmental and social factors still play a significant role. Section 5. A toxic cocktail. When factors intertwine. In most cases, addiction arises from a complex interplay of psychological, social, and genetic factors. It's rarely a case of one single cause, but rather a confluence of vulnerabilities that converge to create a perfect storm. Imagine a young man growing up in poverty, surrounded by violence and drug use. He may witness addiction firsthand within his family, further normalizing the behavior. He might also struggle with undiagnosed depression, making him more susceptible to seeking solace in drugs. In this scenario, the young man faces a multitude of risk factors that increase his likelihood of developing an addiction. The psychological distress of depression, combined with the social pressures of his environment and potential genetic predispositions, creates a toxic cocktail that makes him particularly vulnerable. Section 6. Trapped in the cycle: real-life stories. Consider the story of Sarah, a bright young woman who excelled in school and had a loving family. However, Sarah struggled with crippling social anxiety, making it difficult to connect with others. In college, she began experimenting with alcohol to cope with the social pressures and ease her anxiety. Over time, Sarah found herself relying on alcohol more and more to navigate social situations. What started as a way to self-medicate her anxiety spiraled into a full-blown addiction. Sarah's story highlights how underlying mental health issues coupled with social pressures can contribute to addiction. Then there's John, who grew up in a home ravaged by his father's alcoholism. John witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of addiction, vowing never to follow in his father's footsteps. However, John inherited his father's genetic predisposition to alcoholism, making him more susceptible to addiction. Despite his best efforts to stay away from alcohol, John found himself struggling with cravings and eventually succumbed to the same addiction that plagued his father. John's story demonstrates the powerful influence of genetics, even when combined with a strong desire to avoid addiction. Section 7. Breaking down the stigma. The stories of Sarah and John, though fictionalized, represent the very real struggles faced by millions battling addiction. Their experiences underscore the crucial need to move beyond simplistic explanations and judgmental attitudes towards addiction. Addiction is not a moral failing or a lack of willpower. It's a complex medical condition with deep-rooted causes. By understanding the intricate interplay of psychological, social, and genetic factors, we can begin to dismantle the harmful stigma surrounding addiction. Stigma prevents individuals from seeking help, fearing judgment and discrimination. It creates a culture of shame and silence, pushing people further into the shadows and making recovery even more challenging. Section 8. The power of connection. Breaking down stigma requires a shift in perspective, one that recognizes addiction as a health issue rather than a moral failing. We must foster empathy and understanding for those struggling with addiction, recognizing that they are not defined by their condition. Creating supportive environments is crucial. This includes providing access to affordable treatment options, addressing social determinants of health, and fostering a sense of community where individuals feel supported in their recovery journey. Connection is key. When people feel seen, heard, and understood, they are more likely to reach out for help and stay committed to their recovery. Section 9. Rethinking addiction treatment. Traditional approaches to addiction treatment often focus on abstinence-only models, which can be ineffective and even harmful for some individuals. Instead, we need to embrace a more holistic and compassionate approach to treatment that addresses the underlying causes of addiction. This includes providing access to mental health services, trauma-informed care, and social support systems. Medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, has also proven effective in managing withdrawal symptoms, reducing cravings, and supporting long-term recovery. By tailoring treatment plans to individual needs and addressing the root causes of addiction, we can empower individuals to reclaim their lives and achieve lasting recovery. Section 10. A shared responsibility. Addressing the complex issue of drug addiction is not solely the responsibility of healthcare professionals or policymakers. It requires a collective effort from individuals, communities, and society as a whole. We can all play a role in creating a more supportive and understanding environment for those affected by addiction. This includes challenging our own biases, educating ourselves and others about addiction, and advocating for policies that promote prevention, treatment, and recovery. By working together, we can break down the barriers that prevent individuals from seeking help and create a world where addiction is met with compassion, not condemnation. Section 11. Towards a more compassionate future. Understanding the causes of drug addiction is not just an academic exercise, it's a call to action, a plea for empathy, and a commitment to creating a more just and compassionate world. By recognizing the complex interplay of psychological, social, and genetic factors that contribute to addiction, we can begin to dismantle the stigma, improve treatment approaches, and support those affected by this challenging condition. Let's move forward with a renewed sense of understanding and compassion, working together to create a future where addiction is met with hope, healing, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of recovery.